Let's kick off this explainer. Imagine treating your own consciousness like a piece of upgradable legacy hardware. Well, that's exactly the system audit we're running today. We're going to look at this from a pure engineering perspective, tracing 40 years of human mental software evolution to see exactly how personal hardware gets patched over decades.
We've got a lot of ground to cover in our release notes today. We'll start by initializing the wetware, look at the 1978 hardware patch, architect the BCL vision, scale to networked groups, install new functional parts, and cap it off with the mass OS upgrade.
Let's jump right into Section 1, initializing the wetware.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to define mental software. We are talking about the deliberate creation, debugging, and deployment of procedural scripts that literally run on your biological brain, your wetware. And the craziest part, the original system author, David Earl Jones, started writing this code when he was just a 6-year-old kid dealing with severe stuttering and selective mutism. If you look at this timeline, it reads exactly like a changelog for a human mind. You've got this childhood hardware bug that was methodically patched over decades. It starts with a V1 script in 1966, hits a massive patch in 78, formalizes the architecture in 85, and eventually scales up to a full-blown OS deployment by 2010. Check out this V1 script. To bypass his severe speech glitch so he could actually help his dad fix engines on weekends, he reverse-engineered this flawless 5-step payload for calling auto parts stores. Once he found the exact trigger phrase, price and availability, he proved to himself that his own broken wetware could absolutely be manually programmed.
Moving on to Section 2, the 1978 hardware patch.
Now, you'd probably assume a physical tongue tie needs, a surgical fix, right? But in the summer of 1978, a purely psychological re-imprinting completely released that biological constraint. It's wild. The physical hardware was finally freed up, but the software was totally blank. He still had to manually compile and teach himself speech functions entirely from scratch.
Then, right around 1981, he stumbles on a critical external manual. The book, Frogs into Princes, alongside this eye accessing chart. For our system author, this was a massive breakthrough. It provided the very first visual map of internal processing, meaning he could suddenly turn invisible mental states into observable, debuggable data.
Which brings us to Section 3, architecting the BCL vision. So by 1985, the scope totally changes. He's not just patching his own broken internal hardware anymore. He starts architecting the brain-computer link, or BCL. Think of this as creating an entirely new user interface for human cognition. It literally treated the brain like a computer that you could plug into and upgrade from the outside. Let's look at Section 4, scaling to networked groups.
Fast forward to the NLP study group between 2000 and 2003. Single-user patches were finally ready for multi-user networks. They installed this signature metascript as a daily operating principle. When today is said and done, what will have been the most inspiring thing that you caused to happen today? It's a simple line, but it completely shifted user behavior from passive consumption to causative contribution.
And by 2010, this cognitive code gets pushed directly into the physical realm. The NLP action games introduced the 5 reflexes. This was basically foundational, infantry-level mental software deployed to establish boundaries and real-time physical ownership of your space.
The reflexes are taking up space, push, pull, and nonverbal or verbal ushering. I want to be really clear here. These are not just physical workout exercises. They are embodied software protocols. They're designed to install automatic, baseline responses for handling everyday spatial and social power dynamics.
Next up, Section 5, installing new functional parts.
You couldn't just walk into the 2010 Action Games environment. You had to pass a strict security protocol, a hard attendance bar. You had to help someone else first. By forcing users to build a positive psychological state for another person before getting their own needs met, they ensured the entire network stayed ethically calibrated and highly generative.
And inside that highly calibrated container, they pulled off something truly mind-blowing. They executed the George deployment. Now, George wasn't a guy. George was a custom memory recall program built for a user who had lost their memory to a traumatic brain injury and a coma. They completely bypassed the damaged biological circuits by dropping a totally new, functional software part right into that user's mind.
Finally, Section 6, the Mass OS upgrade.
Look at how perfectly this system scales, almost like a military stack. You start on the ground with close-quarters infantry reflexes from 2010, move up to the cavalry level with tactical driving laws from 1978, and eventually reach artillery and aerospace operations. Those represent literal orbital delivery platforms for deploying mental software on a global scale.
This finalized architecture perfectly integrates the 3 laws of driving, systemic ecology checks, and this concept called coin of the realm. It essentially proves that clean mental navigation, things like common courtesy and avoiding social collisions, literally generates and distributes psychological capital across the entire system.
Ultimately, that brain-computer link matures into a delivery vehicle for the Alien API. This is an interface built to integrate entirely foreign psychological concepts. It acts as an automated equities generator, pushing massive upgrades to human operating systems at a planetary scale, completely bypassing manual gatekeepers. It is the absolute pinnacle of patching human hardware.
So, as we wrap up this system audit, I want to leave you with this. What default, unexamined legacy scripts are running in the background of your biological hardware right now? What glitchy wetware have you just been putting up with? And most importantly, what custom code are you going to write today to upgrade it? Thanks for plugging into this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.